There are several problems with branding as we see it. A big problem is the reinforcement of neoliberal capitalism through an imposed consensus, through which our imagination for designing alternatives is colonized and our social relations are atomized. This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Martin Sully, a brand strategist, designer, and founder of Snapper Studio. And I'm on a mission to help you gain clarity and confidence in your brand. I'll arm you with bite-sized tips and introduce you to friends of the show who are taking their brand to the next level. Big words. That's not me. These are to quote from an article I've found particularly challenging and actually made me question. And this is how we ended up to this point today. Made me question a few things. So obviously, there's a lot to unpack in there, and I kind of appreciate that a lot of people will be like listening to a few of the words in there and going, what? I don't fully understand. And that's okay. I'm going to try and unpack it and bring you up to speed with a few different things. I'm going to start off with looking at the history of branding. And we've touched on this in the past, and I did it especially in my first episodes. The first couple of episodes, we kind of touched on the Hot Metal Brand podcast, how its history was in hot metal type. Hot metal type was the way to sort of, traditionally typeset books, and that is a huge part of my background. I worked in typesetting and typography, designing books and creating things that will obviously be printed, but it's got a dark murky past, something that I never expected to touch on in a podcast, something that I actually I feel pretty strongly against these things, because they touch on very, very much physical, social, big, massive historical impacts from branding, which makes me feel uncomfortable, if I'm completely honest. So to begin, let's go back. Obviously branding has been around for a very, very long time. This article, it was all about post-branding, and it was incredibly thought-provoking and really got me to think about, and got me thinking about, it's kind of obviously clearly targeted at me, as I'm part of the population that can act on it and start altering perceptions. To break it down, modern day branding is a really new thing. Back in the 80s, branding was known as corporate identities. And around, I think it was around sort of the early 2000s, it kind of switched to branding, where there was also, from what I can kind of gather and work out, there was also this split that took place where people started to concentrate more on personal branding, and that has been heavily influenced by today's social media. But that's something to go into at maybe another point. There's been a fantastic new podcast that's come through that two sort of contacts of mine have put together, and it's called Personal Branding Unlocked. It's by Monica Walmsley and Josh Lawler. They have put together this amazing podcast. I'll drop a note to it in the show notes, and you can kind of they're going to be diving more into personal branding. Whereas, as you know, I've got a more of a general overview, more targeted towards corporate branding, I guess, but branding in general. So, the argument of the article was that the Industrial Revolution, so we're talking about it's 200 or 300 years back, and that you might want to fact check that, because I'm kind of taking a wild stab in the dark, but I'm pretty sure that's in the right ballpark. So the Industrial Revolution, and maybe even earlier than that, was the kind of catalyst for capitalism, which in turn brought the need for branding. But like I said earlier, there's a dark past that people don't want to talk about. The branding iron was used on animals, and more disturbingly, people. So slaves were branded as people's property, and I don't think we want to go into too much detail around this topic, but it really just brought something to life and made me question why the podcast was originally called the Hot Metal Brand Podcast, and it really didn't sit well. So I've moved it over to the Level Up Podcast, which genuinely, I'm very excited about where the future of this can go. It's not got the history linked into it, but to be honest, if I'm looking at the history of branding, I'm now questioning it. Not in a good way at all. So this for me is a really eye-opening chance for me to shift my perspective of it, but also hopefully switch things around for you guys too. The article then touches on a few things like, okay, so when we started to first sort of see repetitive imagery and sort of things being taken and pilfered and used to promote new ways of looking at the world and new ways of communicating, actually was Nazism. And they're identifying Mars, so the swastika, and that was originally an ancient symbol that was used in religions. So if you're looking at like Buddhism and Hinduism, they both used the swastika. And again, like I said, there's got this really dark, murky path, murky history. And I'm actually going to leave it there. I don't think we need to go too much further into that. But the one nugget that I did get from all of this was the connection to people. They are what pull everything together. And it's been emphasized for me during the pandemic and post-pandemic. And now moving through that, people are a lot more aware of the power of branding. But going into it, branding as a historical thing conjures up a lot of negative connotations. secrecy, control, distortion, changing people's perspectives, altering, opinions, being exclusive, looking at competition and consumption, trying to increase people's consumption of products and services. And I think there's got to be a balance, because let's face it, that this is an area a topic I'm an expert in, but obviously you just have to be very careful. But I think also what it kind of highlights is that post branding now looks at promoting, as opposed to secrecy, they are promoting transparency. If you're looking at control, it's less control and more being open, with like distortion. Maybe it's still backing into openness. So there's a few other things. So like the positive sort of side things are collaboration rather than competition, social engagement, what else? Cohesion, dialogue is a big one for me at the moment. It's something you'll probably hear me talking about. Branding used to be a monologue. It was purely buy our product. So using an idea of selling toilet paper. Here we go. Let's bring the level down again. If you buy our toilet paper, it's triple ply. I mean, that would be purely just spruiking the benefits, the functional benefits, and that's dull. There's no connection. There's no emotive reason other than the fact that everybody needs toilet paper. There's no emotional connection in that, and obviously it's not it's difficult to create an emotive connection to a piece of toilet paper, considering its job. But the big thing for me is then looking at how do you make it emotive? How do you sell toilet paper in a post-branding world? And that is looking at creating a dialogue between the buyer and the person, the person selling it. So the person selling it, they want to obviously go through, make sales. The person on the end, they want to make sales, but they want to get something else from it. Sorry, they want to buy the product, but they want to get something else from it. And that thing is like that feel-good factor. So a brand that kind of perfectly sums this up is Who Gives a Crap. And I'm sure, because I talk about them a lot because they do so many good things and they just do it right. They're bringing people back in to the conversation and aligning all their values and everything to create this kind of openness, this kind of dialogue, which is perfect for that post-branding world that we're kind of moving into now. So it's a super point. And the other thing is that actually in that post-branding world that we are looking for not being criticized, but finding that criticality and having being open to feedback, using the imagination to kind of push things forward. So there's 4 things that I would choose from that list that I feel passionate about, that would be things like, that openness, collaboration, dialogue, and imagination. You need all of these things to to push things forward and to explore, to open up new opportunities. And it's not in a very capitalist way. It's trying to make things better, trying to improve, trying to do things right. So yeah, that's just some of the things that I've been going over the last sort of 10 months or so. Yeah, so why is it important for you guys? And for us in particular as well? Well, people in branding and design have the power to influence a positive change. And it can only come from here, this point. It's as simple as that. So if we need to all start doing the little things and doing the little things a little bit better, it starts just at that kind of top level, but it filters down. And that's the point of collaboration. You're all getting involved in trying to make little improvements that will make a big difference. Some of the biggest things are obviously like all the environmental sustainability goals. These like are huge, and the small little changes here make a big difference. I'll give you a case in point. We at home started to about sort of 18 months ago, we started we got a deal through our local council to get a compost heap. It's, like I said, really simple. We've got a bit of space in the back garden. Throw composter down, just chuck in scraps of food, bits of cardboard, bits of paper, or whatever. Like, you've got to find that like a good balance. I'm not going to go into the text sort of side of that, but it's pretty simple. You just kind of chuck food in there, really. Anyway, before I get off track, that has cut down, like, we literally throw away, other than a couple of other little tweaks here and there, looking at, obviously changing making sure we recycle soft plastics, and we do all the other recycling of bits and pieces as well. But like, we've cut down on the things that go in our red bin dramatically. So the red bin, if you're in Australia, is all your general waste. Obviously it's going to be different across the world, but yeah, this is a tiny little change like that we made, but you wouldn't believe how much stuff. We literally put a bag of rubbish in the red bin every week, and that's it, rather than 4, 5, 6, 7 bags. That we got people in the street that actively then fill our bin. Which, yeah, it kind of feels like, hey, we've been good. But yeah, that's just a little change. And obviously if we can use the power of branding and everything to alter perspectives, without harming and without taking away that human element. So obviously, and obviously, even if you're okay, so I'm not also suggesting that if you're in only the people in branding or design can make those alterations and give people, can make positive change. That's definitely not the case. So it's definitely not exclusive to us. And a large part of most people's role is to actually educate people as well. So focusing on educating customers, clients in the things that we believe in, will start turning the tide on the world's biggest touch points, things like this. think that's going to go a long way to helping. And obviously, yeah, we cannot do it alone. Like, we're all gonna need to collaborate together. We need to start the dialogue. And while it sounds a little bit like "Viva la Revolution," it break free from the capitalist mindset to use our imaginations a little bit more, and actually, start thinking about things a little bit more deeply. And obviously, if you align with what I'm saying, I would love you to honestly go and read. I will put the article in the show notes for this article. It's really enlightening, and I'm gonna go out and buy the book because I want to read more. I want to find out more. It's important. So I'm gonna leave it there. It's been an interesting episode. It's kind of far away from the normal things we talk about. But I am really busy behind the scenes lining up some super cool guests. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be really fun. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this episode. I would actually love to hear some feedback. So if people listen to it, if you want to send me a quick email as well, you are absolutely welcome. My email is martin@snapper.studio. So snapper like the fish. Okay. And yeah, have a good week, and I will catch up with you all very soon in the next episode.